it went on for quite some time until during the first phase of our independence, when the whole social structure, notwithstanding the independence obtained, the self-rule by the first Prime Minister Tengku Abdul Rahman, 31st August 1957, things did not work out. The expectations of an independent nation were economically, politically, culturally, and the rest of it will become the fundamentals for the Malay race in particular. They felt threatened. They felt neglected. They felt being left out. Notwithstanding the Constitution, providing some of the proviso where their interests are safeguarded in terms of their religion, in terms of their language, in terms of economic well-being, etc., etc. They were all included in the Constitution, drawn pre-independence, adopted during the independence. And that leads to what we call the 13 May episode, 13 May 69, which is in fact a manifestation and a realization that the whole structure did not work out. The multiracial, multicultural, and economic being drawn based on race, education also was drawn on that basis. It did not work out. There were protests by the winning party then, the DAP, against the so-called natives of the nation. And it erupted into the May 13 episode, which overhauled the thinking of the government then. 1969 is in fact the more or less a point in our history, a dark history of our life, that create visions, new visions as to how such issues can be overcome. So Tun Razak took over the government as an operations director of national operation under emergency rule, where our parliament was suspended, and all the races, Chinese, Indian, and all political parties came together under one umbrella called the National Front, Barisan Nasional. And that linguist alliance, Perikatan, which comprised the Melayu through the UMNO, Chinese through MCA, in the Indians through MIC, the whole thing was enlarged to include other political parties which make their way to win a number of seats. Penang, for example, under Gerakan, and then we've got DAP, and we have people, other parties in Sarawak and Sabah. So eventually Barisan Nasional came to the picture with 14 over political parties, which is in fact a congregation of the minds of the various political colors in order to forge a policy that can give political harmony, religious tolerance, and a new set of platform for nation building. With that came the new economic policy to redress economic structure, economic well-being, to ensure that the poverty is not drawn on race, the equality is prevalent in terms of workplace, in terms of economic cake, in terms of education, and also to ensure that tolerance, we celebrate differences between the races rather than intolerant, rather than being confrontational. So you create a national culture policy, reinvent again the national education policy, enhance it further, and to ensure that the weaknesses in the past are eliminated if possible. And so there came a policy of Dasar Ekonomi Baru, the new economic policy. Education-wise came into the picture, the birth of National University, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Bahasa Kebangsaan became the national language, further enhanced. Because the elements, the ethos of Malaysia, Bangsa Malaysia is not clearly understood and practiced. There were a lot of celebrations. Perpaduan, for example, we create the Rukun Tetangga, looking after the neighborhood, and then you create. It's more of celebrations rather than the actual integration per se. And you create an ideology, a national ideology, in the form of Rukun Tetangga, Rukun Negara, which is quite similar to what Indonesia did with Pancasila. But somehow, and I was involved in this in the later part of my life, when we check the way Pancasila in Indonesia was taught and was implemented, very different from the Rukun Negara formulated by us in the 1970s in our system. The idea is for nation building, for you to have this ethos in terms of your own beliefs, in terms of your commitment, your feeling for the nation, Rukun Negara, the framework of law, the institution of the Raja, all that. But it's not really translated into the education system, because we have the same education system except for some segments of change here and there. Nothing fundamental, because it becomes so sensitive. There's some sensitive areas. So the schools, for example, you still have the national school, and you still have the vernacular schools, which at time, during that time in particular, segregate the races between the Chinese, the Indians, and the Malays. The national school did not become national school per se. It became a Malay school, an extension of Malay schools. The percentage of non-Bumiputra, Melayu, the Chinese, the Indian, and others are minimal, because some who can afford to send schools for English medium, they send to private school. So there's no element of integration among the children of the Malaysian citizens. So how could you have a nation building process that can integrate them as satu bangsa, as one nation, yaitu bangsa Malaysia, when they are taught separately right from day one, the kindergarten. We got the English, you got the religious kindergarten, we got the Malay kindergarten, the Kemas for the rural area, and you have the kindergarten, private kindergarten for those who can afford. You know, we have to pay through your nose. It's only meant for middle class and upper middle class. And when it comes to the secondary, the primary school, the bulk of the students going to the national school, Melayu. The rest go to Chinese school, Tamil schools, and the one with the money, they can fund their children's education, private schools. Where is the integration? Right from young, they are not integrated physically, mentally, in the same compound, where they can fight each other, not because they are Melayu, China, or India, but because they are Malaysian. And there's no worry about parents coming and saying, oh, you beat my children. No, because they are very close to each other. They become friends, they become children, they abide with each other's likes and dislikes. And this happened during my time. I went to a school during my time where Melayu, China, India, all races are there together. But then English was a medium. Was it because of the change in the medium of the instruction? Or is it because of the religiosity element, the religious elements creeping into the national system that make it more religious, that scare everybody to go in? So these are the areas that need to be looked at even up to now, because the thing doesn't change very much. Though we may want the vernacular schools for more other races to go in, the Chinese school will take in the Malays and the Indians and other races, and then become much more Malaysian than based on racial groupings, and so is the Tamil schools, for example. This must take place. If we want to ensure racism is set aside, it's got to start from young. And I'm glad the education Faculty of University Kebangsaan Malaysia is taking the initiative, not just at the educational level, but also at the nation building. You've got Kita, you've got Samsul Amri there, you've got Professor Teo, and all these people contributing to the process of nation building. And this is important from the ideological, philosophical point of view, but more importantly is from the operationalization of this ideology, of this philosophy into the real life. The teachers shouldn't be taken in on the basis of a last job, the last opportunity. In other countries like Sweden and most other countries in Europe, teachers' profession as a profession is meant for people who are highly motivated. And of course, their salary is much better than the ordinary other professions, because they value teachers who are there to create the process of nation building, to ensure the future of the nation is based on a society that's united, that loves one nation, not a nation of many nations, that love one nation, Malaysia. That should come out from the system of education. And then you go back, say, at one stage, the government spent about 700 million a year, almost, probably 1 billion at one stage, on this national service, where the children after Form 5 were sent to the center of this national service. And for 1 to 3 months, that doesn't work, because the system where they come from is not accommodating enough to ensure the process of nation building is there, for them to love the nation as a nation, for them not to feel discriminated. If they feel discriminated, they don't belong they don't have the sense of belonging to the nation. And because of that, you can expect them to have these elements of patriotism in them. At one stage, during Mokhtar Dahari era, where our football was the top of the world, one of the competitors for the Olympic game, Mokhtar Dahari, Santok Singh, So Ching Wan, Melayu, China, India, as a team, national team for Malaysia. And when they played against India, the Malaysian of Indian origin supported Malaysia. The Chinese of China origin also supported Malaysia when Cheng Wei fought in the arena of badminton. Nationalism, patriotism, the feel for one nation emerged from these national heroes. We should have more of these icons in these areas of sports and other fields, whether they're Chinese, Indian, orang asli, doesn't really matter, Kadazan, orang Murut, and sebagainya. Pick them, choose them as icons of the nations, because these are the pillars of characters that can be taken for icon by the children of all races. Not just because he's a Malay, you celebrate his success, or he's an Indian, the Indian only celebrates the success is celebrated by all of us. So this sort of, how do you teach that? And your digital method, the new era of digitalization, where you use that particular format through the social media right now to inculcate the sense, the values, the embracing of differences, the celebration of differences. These are the elements that need to crowd out the media, because these are areas that the young generation now adhere to, the social media. So I hope your methodology in trying to create characters of nation building through the social media will be perpetuated and spread to all the school systems. I think that's a fantastic idea. But more importantly, the curriculum must be formulated as to how nation building process can be worked out. In Singapore, in Israel, after Form 5, school leavers, they attend 2 or even 3 years of national service. What do? They were taught as citizens of the nation how to defend the nation, how to provide the best services. And during that time, apart from being indoctrinated with the national ideology, they were given practical exposure to be policemen, to be Air Force, to be in the Navy, to be all areas of defenders of the nation. And they were paid with an allowance. And this government, Israel and Singapore, reduced the number of policemen, reduced the number of the tentera, of the Air Force and everyone else, because these volunteers, forced volunteers, if I may, they join these forces for 1 or 2 years. And some are with officers' ranks. So you reduce the cost of the police, maintaining peace and prosperity and everything else, and the armed forces and the other government sectors. They work there, but mostly in the uniform, because I think that gives them the pride, the sense of pride, sense of ownership, sense of belonging to a nation. So we do that. We should. I've even suggested that in my meeting with the Council of Perpaduan, National Unity Council, that we have to further enhance this national service. Let they contribute the way they contribute in Singapore and in Israel. Israel, the young people we put in the kibbutz, system of kibbutz where cooperative movement, economic, you see, they also create economic centers, meaning to say these people, national service, yes, with all this ideological framework given to them, but at the same time, they contribute to the economic value, to the security value, to the enhancement of the nation. So I think we have to do that on that basis. Perhaps it's more fruitful and meaningful to create a proper process of nation building. Because Rukun Negara per se, just now, if you follow me, as I see it, Rukun Negara as an ideology, the 5 Rukun, they just put it last time at the back of the textbook or at the back of the writing pad or on the buses and all that, but it's not translated into action. The feelings for all the 5 Rukuns are not there. So we try to do that. We try, through Mubarak, I try to create this wacana, this discourse on the institusi raja, the perlembagaan, and patriotism. These are the 3 elements that the young people need, as far as I'm concerned. So we did that. We did that in Pahang, where I come from, in Kuala Lumpur, together with the alumni of the Parliament Mahasiswa. We create this for the young leaders to really appreciate the framework of our nation building process. They have to understand that, so that they can then translate this in their day-to-day activities. If you don't spread this, embedded in the system, then I don't think that will be part and parcel of their way of life. So I think it's important for us to look at areas, more so now when the 18 years old are allowed to vote. Political parties in this country, because of power grabbing, because of politics is about power more than anything else. It is very Machiavellian in their structure, in their value system. They go for power, and for power they can do all sorts of things in order to enhance, or in order to sustain, or in order to acquire. So what do they do? They reach out to the racial sentiments. So most political parties in this country now are really based on race, based on religion, based on something that is disuniting the nation. If this were to continue, then you will never have a political platform that is embedded with a policy of nation building. So we must be concerned, the voices of the young people must come up to shape the future of the nation, to shape the political structure of the nation. They must express, either through them voting for the next general election 15, or through their day-to-day activities. And the digital format that you have must highlight this. All the time having these angles of unity and dismissing racism in whatever form, political, economic, social, whatever. Highlight this, because they will have a big followers, I can assure you, because they are now looking forward to these new changes. If the traditional group do not bring the changes, they will bring the changes. So I hope, and I hope more to share rather than to just talk about it, so that we can get the views of the participants. I'm just opening up the area of discussion as a discourse, because I think the young people have got a lot more to say about that. We can talk about Rukun Negara, we can talk about Vision 2020, we can talk about One Malaysia. These are all frameworks, and they keep on changing because of the change of leadership. Every leader will have their own vision and mission. There's not sometimes a continuity is there, but with a lot of patches of differences also, depending on the political situation during that time. But I think the crux of it all, we must have a very firm educational system, curriculum and co-curriculum that is based on the need to create a very strong nation. So the process of nation building begins in schools, begins at kindergarten, then right to the peak at the university. If that happens, then the future of Malaysia, with racism set aside, will be a nation of one nation, rather than a nation of many nations. So I think I just open it that way, and then I'd rather, because I think your Dr. Aziz also spoke at length on these parameters. I would like to share with the young minds who are going to be to the various places where you teach, so that you bring this particular philosophy as part of your during your part of your teaching process. So I would like to thank the management. Our speech to stop at that, but I would love to discuss the issues pertaining to this particular topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Dato Sri Dr. Abdul Aziz Abdul Rahman, for that eye-opening talk. I'm sure we could surely learn a lot of things from the sharing, and I personally enjoyed the insights shared. And surely it will encourage students all around, TESOL students especially, to become wonderful, promising educators, as well as Malaysians who are free of racist stigmas and immoral attitudes. And I'm sure that this in turn will certainly help pave a way to the nation's beautiful future, ambitions, and the moral principles that it stands for. Now, thank you, and a very great pleasure having you here with us today.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that concludes the awareness talk on the theme of racism. Once again, I would like to thank our esteemed speaker, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Dato Sri Dr. Abdul Aziz Abdul Rahman, for gracing us with your presence today. Now, I believe we have just enough time to squeeze in a quick question and answer session. And that being said, I would like to invite the audience the opportunity to ask our speaker a few questions with regards to our topic of discussion today, which is racism. I believe there are some students here who are eager and more than happy to forward their questions to you, Tan Sri. Let us begin with the first question.
Hello, I have a question here.
Yes.
Hello, Tan Sri. My name is Leah Natasha, and I have one thing in my mind, and it has been lingering around. So I am a Sabahan myself, and personally, I do experience any kind of racist remarks and any kind of so many situations that involves race related, be it in marriage or anything. So my question is, I believe racism happens everywhere. So my question is, where do you think Malaysia is headed in the future in terms of understanding between different races and to avoid less race-related conflict? And that's all. Thank you, Tan Sri.
Thank you so much. Are you here or in Sabah?
Oh, I'm back in KK Sabah, yes.
All right. So you see, we are spread by region. We are spread by differences in terms of culture, religion, and the economy even, there's elements of separation. How to feel wherever you are a Malaysian, and you sort of don't feel discriminated, either by the government or by other races, etc., etc. How do you create that? Are we already successful in this game? We heard just now how even our new athlete as was bombarded with all sorts of racial comments, and how every now and then incidents based on racism manifest themselves, so that we feel that as if this thing is rampant throughout. But in essence, looking at what is happening now, I do not think that it is embedded in our nation, this racism. But if the political masters that be continue to have these racial biases, racial card be used to win votes, to go for power, then forever we'll be in trouble. So how to change that? To change that is to change the mindset of the voters, because actually the power is in the hands of the people who vote, including the 18-year-old. 18-year-old who are now allowed to vote, they will be subject to all this. And in this handphone, there's so many fake news, there's so many propaganda. So how are the 18-year-old going to decipher the truth from the fake, the truth from the false? So we have got to be very careful. Somebody must check and ensure that the power of the new media will not be able to mold elements of racism among the young people. And at the same time, the young people, I mean, there are people now who are trying to go into parliament. I understand even in Johor, 6 or 7 young people from the political party who go in. They must manifest their own desire, their wish, where they want the nation to go, or even through their votes, to show to the political parties that be, who are participating in this election, we want this way. Even though in the orthodox or traditional way, a lot of people going this other way. So this must take place. So I hope in Sabah, in Sarawak, in Semenanjung, these young voters, 7 million of them, will be actively involved by showing their preferences during the election, the general election 15th, or the state election in Sabah is done, in Malacca, and now in Johor. So you have to see what takes place there. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum Tan Sri, if I could ask you a question, kind of a follow-up to the previous question. Yeah, you mentioned about the role of the youth actually, and you've worked with them in terms of educating them on the parliament processes and so on. Yeah, the democratic processes. So my question is, kind of related, like do you see kind of a change in the political landscape, in a sense that you mentioned about how politicians tend to use racial sentiments in order to garner support, yeah? But now we do see a new political party being formed in the form of MUDA, for example, and they are much more kind of like democratic. It's not based on race. What do you see, like how do you see kind of like their role or their potential in terms of changing that political culture in Malaysia?
I think that's a good start.
Yeah.
I think the opposition parties have given recognition to Syed Saddiq in his MUDA by putting out, I think, 6 candidates, even though they're a very young party and very new.
Yeah.
That means to say some political parties recognize the young minds with their own you can call it young dreams, for the future of the nation. So likewise, I would like to hope the established political parties this time around would portray the young images. Like in every political parties, established like UMNO, like MCA, MIC, Bersatu, Gerakan, all have youth wings, for
Yes.
the young ladies and young gentlemen participating in these political parties, let their voices be heard by the established political parties, so that these are the people that will be on par with MUDA and with other organizations similar to MUDA. Because this is a trend now. If we don't adopt that,
Yeah.
it will be sad if we were to see these established parties may be affected by the future results of the election. So I'm hoping the young minds on all spectrum of political ideologies will be able to be given the opportunity to present themselves. Because this is a trend. You look at Sweden, average age of the cabinet ministers, and surprisingly, ladies,
Yeah.
in the early 30s. And, this is a trend right now. So don't say that people who are now 30, 40, they're too young to be involved in politics. No,
Yeah.
they are the current thinkers that can lead the current group of society, of the social media group. So I hope that be taken in seriously. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, Tan Sri Datuk Sri Dr. Abdul Aziz.
Yeah.
I am Azani Shafinas and I have a question for you. It was once a very big issue in Malaysia regarding the Mandarin speakers only as the job requirements. And I believe some companies are
Breaking.
still including that Mandarin speakers in their job advertisements, regardless of the fact that we are living in a multiracial country. So my question is, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Am I breaking out?
Coming through. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So my question is, do you think it's reasonable for the companies to use Mandarin speakers only as the job requirements? And is it reasonable for those companies to do so? And do you think this issue will be resolved in Malaysia?
Thank you. You see, to be a Malaysian, whether it's based on the constitution or based on just historical event, you must be able to speak Bahasa Melayu, which has been taken as Bahasa Kebangsaan, the national language. If you want to be a citizen of England, you've got to pass your English, and then your loyalty to the Queen, etc. All these are questions of nation building. If you go to Australia, the same thing they will ask. But in Malaysia, we do ask whether you can speak Bahasa and all that when you are a candidate for citizenship, and your allegiance to the sovereign power that in Malaysia the Perkhidmatan Agong, the law of the country, etc., etc. If that is the basis, then to me, personally, even though Mandarin is now a language of the international language that is on par with English, and more so now with the possible hegemonic struggle of bipolar becoming just a polar world between the US and China, because China has come out so well, both economically and everything else. So, but still, one shouldn't, in Malaysia in particular, where the national language is Bahasa, to say that you can only apply for this job based on Mandarin. You can have a smattering of Mandarin, you must understand Mandarin, but at the same time, Bahasa. If you want to put Mandarin there, equally, you put Bahasa or English together. But if you just put Mandarin per se, then you are saying that this country's national language is possibly Mandarin. People will interpret that way. So I would suggest, I'm of the view that to accommodate everybody's interest, and more so the sensitivity, where Bahasa Malaysia is a national language, and other languages are allowed to be practiced, to be used in Hokkien, whatever dialect in this country. But when it comes to the official level, this must be taken into consideration. I mean, other bahasa. You can say, okay, we need Mandarin speaking, bahasa, and English. That's okay. But if you say just Mandarin, we need only people who can speak Mandarin and no others, then that may what do you call it? Be more sensitive lah. It can be sensitive to some quarters. It's not illegal, perhaps, but it be sensitivities. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So hello, Tan Siri, Dato Siri, Dr. Abdul Aziz, Abdul Rahman. My name is Wang Mingyang. I am an international student all the way from China.
Yeah.
And yeah, right now I'm in China right now. Yes. So my question is that in Malaysia, since the voting age has been lowered to 18, we should expose students more about policy. I mean, you know, pre-prepare them. So meaning that we should expose the information to students or pupils in middle school, right? In middle school age. So my question is that is it too beyond the ability to understand the racism event related to policy? And do you think sometimes we as a teacher, when we are exposing the information, something about the policy, well, we subconsciously shape students' mind, you know, about the opinion about the parties. Thank you.
Yeah. Because political education is very important. An 18-year-old, sorry to say, with the current education system, both curriculum and co-curriculum, they are not exposed to the nuances and the values in the political structure. So there must be political education. I'm suggesting, in fact, I'm preparing as a chairman of University Malaysia Pahang. We've got a Yayasan foundation, University Malaysia Pahang Foundation, which will come up with a program to provide this political education to all the leaders, young leaders, both within the campus as well as around the campus, around the school, because those people reaching 18 or thereabout, or the future voters for the general election, 15 general election, I have taken the initiative to provide this political education, not ideological, not based on whether it's UMNO, MIC, MCA, Harapan, Bersatu, etc., but just political education. What is the structure of politics? How politics should be looked at as a basis of sustainable development for the future, for democracy to work, for a thinking process to take place based on objective analysis rather than racial or one-sided. So this thing need to be taught rather than ideological, but political per se, political education per se, meaning the system of the politics in the country and the world, and then how the various political ideologies prevail, communism, democracy, socialism, and all these are just ideologies adopted by the various political parties. But ultimately, you as a person must be able to decide for yourself what is best for the country in the context of Malaysia. So if I can reach out to more 18 potential voters, 18-year-olds, I think that would be something that we have to work out. I agree with you. And then the sentiments from the teachers in this area, I would say less political ideology, but more political education. Because if you talk about political ideology, then you are becoming teacher propagandists. We do not want that. We want teachers, open knowledge, throw it to the students, and they will think for themselves. So critically. Thank you for a fantastic question and very relevant, and that I'm in the process of doing it through University Malaysia Pahang Foundation, and also ex-parliamentarian association Mubarak. Mubarak means Majlis Bekas Wakil Rakyat Malaysia, ex-parliamentarians association in Malaysia. Thank you.
Good morning, Tan Sri, Dato Sri, Dr. Abdul Aziz. This actually entails another question. Simply put, given the current condition of our education system and how there is a lack of political education, would you say that 18-year-olds are insufficiently equipped with knowledge and not politically mature?
Right on the nail. Because to me, 18-year-old in this country, because the system of education does not allow much of critical thinking in the curriculum and co-curriculum in Malaysia, broad brush does not allow for the process of critical thinking to be embedded as a system in the individual. So how would you get an 18-year-old to vote when they are not well equipped to think along those lines? So you need to have the curriculum and co-curriculum of the schools need to make sure our children, dari segi both theoretical as well as practice, must be bonded by the power of critical thinking. If not, we won't be able to get that level of maturity for them to make a choice, educated choice in the process of the election. So to teach these people, to educate them within a day or two would not be sufficient to enhance their what do you call it, their insight into politics. I agree.
Tan Sri, kind of like looking at it from the perspective, my perspective as a teacher educator, yeah. I think that a lot of teachers are kind of like reserved, every time there's a mention about political education, for example, because there is that kind of conception or perception that, political education entails, as you mentioned, ideology as opposed to the processes of democratic participation. So, and even like, our teacher education program, we don't have components of political education. So there is a great deal, it's not just a matter of, I think, educating, the students, but actually preparing teachers to be, and I suppose it's kind of like multi-pronged kind of approach, because it deals with teacher education, it deals with the curriculum, not just within teacher education, but also within the school itself. So, do you see kind of like, through your work that, Ministry of Education, would be kind of like more open and receptive towards, incorporating, political education in not just school, but also in teacher education program?
I fully agree with you. The present system does not allow for this to take place. But when I was I was from the Royal Military College. When I did my even Form 4, Form 5, and Law 6 and Upper 6, there are elements of teaching regarding government,
Yes.
and ideologies. What is communism? What is democracy? What is capitalism? But that something need to be transcended, trickle down to this school system, and then at the same time for them to go group by group and visit their institutions that make law. For example, in Pahang, as an example, we organize Dewan Undangan Negeri, the State Legislative Assembly, for the young leaders, to participate in the parliamentary debate in Parliament. And also, I was given the opportunity to grace the occasion of opening of Parliament in University Malaya and University Kebangsaan. So there are elements where University Parliament has its own parliamentary session in the campus itself. So we need to have more of that. If you remember, a long time ago, during the late Tan Sri Junid, peace be upon him. Remember, he started the kids, the children went to parliament.
Yes, that's
in
right.
full uniform.
Yes.
In full uniform. So that sort of thing should be carried through. Because parliament is in session only about half a year in total.
Yeah.
So the other half the year, and I think the parliament people have agreed to the idea that we put up. Use the vacancy, the vacant time, the period that is free for people from schools, from universities to participate in the parliamentary debate. So that's part of the co-curriculum.
Yes.
Both at the state level, even kerjaan tempatan, local government, if they have this sort of system, and the federal, at the lower house and the upper house of parliament. So I think they have to create that sort of thing. Then only, and then even in the co-curriculum, like the camping. I don't know whether they have this as a matter of course. Everybody has got to go for summer camp or winter camp or flood camp, So they have to be exposed and initiated in the political education. That's important.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very interesting to have all this interaction. I'm really enjoying it, and I look forward to more interaction.
Assalamualaikum, Tan Sri. I'm Shafiqa Abdullah. So I have a question. Talking about the National Service Program, I remembered I was very excited to join the program because I believe it would be a great learning sphere for me. Like as for me, I grew up in a single race community. I don't have connections with another race. Not until not until I in my university right now. PLKN is once being claimed as racial indoctrination before the program was eventually abolished in 2018. So I would like to know, where is your stand on this matter, Tan Sri? Thank you.
Can you elaborate further on that particular institution, the one that you were saying about the course that you more very racial-based course? I was not very clear. I'm not very clear.
All right, so there's an article saying that PLKN is being claimed as racial indoctrination before the program was eventually abolished in 2018.
To me, that shouldn't happen. PLKM should be on the basis of national service for all races and all regions. When for example, the parliamentary mahasiswa, the formula to make up parliament mahasiswa was based on gender, 50-50, and races, and regional. In all the areas that I initiate pertaining to nation building, I will incorporate these elements. The gender must be looked after, the racial, and region. Region here means Sabah, Sarawak, and East Coast, West Coast, North and South, that sort of thing. So that they must be represented in whatever we do, so that this thing can be transmitted to their own areas. So PLKM, just like at one stage people were talking about what you call, there's another institution, Tata Negara, BTN, Bureau Tata Negara. It's not just meant for the Malays. It's not just meant to teach about how about religion, etc. It's meant to create a responsible citizen. It is citizenry sort of platform. In based on the formula that I just mentioned, the various races, various religions, various regions, and gender, the two gender. So you have got to work on a bit, and therefore the knowledge you impart must be more universal and less parochial and less and narrow to the extent of only enhancing a value system of one race or one religion. You can't. So I think the curriculum for the future national service must reflect this, because our practice for Parliament Mahasiswa, I use that formula. And I will also use the same formula for the new voters platform. So I hope because of that formula, the knowledge you impart, the curriculum you put out must be all embracing and not based on race. So they got to come up with something. The intellectual group, the thinkers, the researchers in the ministry and University Kebangsaan Malaysia must come up with something along those lines. Thank you.
Hello, Tan Sri. I have one question.
Yep.
This one is kind of added to the question that Dr. Azrina asked about the education, teacher education program. I think that it's not that we the teachers we actually want to teach the racism in school, but we are worried about how are we going to execute it, because we are teaching in a class, there are a lot of races, and then when they go back at home, so they might tell their parents about, obviously they will tell their parents, and it might cause a confusion, and the teacher, the cause of it, the teacher might be detained for teaching the racism totally at school. Yeah, so I'm just wondering, okay, and the method that we are proposing here is through the digital storytelling, and even that one we need to be very subtle about it. Yeah, so I'm just wondering, how can we make the student to, I don't know, I mean, how can we actually teach the student without fearing for the teacher about being detained or being condemned by other teachers or maybe by the government or the ministry itself? Yeah.
I hope this is not an underground curriculum, This curriculum must be above ground. Meaning to say, that's why I said the content of the curriculum or co-curricular must be discussed at the Kementerian level. And the research paper must come up from UKM. University Kebangsaan Malaysia, University Watan, which is involved in creating a unity among races. There's a basis of University Kebangsaan, national language, to bind the races. Use that as a platform to create a curriculum and co-curriculum that can continue with nation building, because that is lacking. And then I'm also suggesting with the management of UKM, Institute Rukun Negara have one. Purely Rukun Negara like Pancasila in University Gajah Mada. Have one here. And then once we have established, we have a summit of national ideology, Pancasila Rukun Negara in Kuala Lumpur. In fact, if everything went smoothly the last time, there was supposed to be a big summit of University Gajah Mada people who I had a lot of discussion with them to create that summit, national ideology summit of Pancasila Rukun Negara. You must adopt that. You cannot do secretly. It's got to be done in the open. We've got nothing to hide except to create nation building process in the curriculum and co-curriculum. Okay.
Yeah, I understand. All right, thank you, Tan Sri.
Thank you.
All right, Tan Sri, and ladies and gentlemen, I believe that is all for our Q&A session, yeah?
Yeah.
Thank you for an eventful discussion. I would also like to extend my thanks to the students in honor of your questions, as well as to Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Dato Sri Dr. Abdul Aziz Abdul Rahman for helping to answer them.
Yeah.
Okay, now everyone, it's the moment that we've all been waiting for, which is the awards.
But before that, can I get the transcript of the Q&A? The transcript from the management?
All right. Yes, sure.
The Q&A, just for my record. I think it's a very interesting discussion. I've got to leave. I would like to thank the management, Dr. Azrina and team, and the Deputy Dr. Hawati Hashim, Deputy Dean, and all your digital people. Thank you so much. MC, you have done a good job. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Tan Sri. All right, everyone. So before we proceed with the awards, let us invite the head of jury, visual effects artist and voice actor in Agent Ali the movie, Mr. Ahmad Sufyan Mazilan, to provide his remarks on the overall performance of the event. Please welcome Mr. Ahmad Sufyan.
Hey. Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, and a very good morning I wish to everyone. Yang Bahagia Tan Sri Dato Sri Dr. Abdul Aziz bin Abdul Rahman, President of Majlis Bekas Wakil Rakyat Mubarak Malaysia, as the invited speaker for today's event. Yang Bahagia Dr. Harwati Hashim, Deputy Dean of Undergraduate Studies, representing the Dean of Faculty of Education, UKM, and Yang Berusaha Dr. Azlina Abdul Aziz, Chief Advisor of Graphic Story Setting Aside Racism Among Malaysians program. I am Ahmad Sufyan. I'm a visual effects artist and voice actor on Agent Ali as the invited judge for the event, and my fellow judge who sadly isn't able to join us today, Yang Berusaha, Mr. Ruben Singham, a film editor for Agent Ali and Agent Ali the movie, as the invited jury for the graphic story on racism competition. And thank you so much, Yang Berusaha, Dr. Azlina, for the invitation, and Miss Siti Shazwin, the program director, for having me on board. I am truly honored to be part of this event. And to all of you year 3 TESOL students, I really felt your hard work and enthusiasm in every frame in creating a piece that conveys the theme of racism and why and how it has to be a topic of conversation. Collectively, all of you successfully achieved this goal. And this past 2 nights, all of the graphic stories I watched conveyed really strong messages about racism. I'm honestly very impressed with what you all have achieved, especially in terms of storytelling. I was really pulled in and invested in all of these stories. They all felt so real, and as if all these stories were drawn from, very real and personal experiences. And I found that the use of 3-act structures in the stories to be very effective and coherent. I honestly wasn't expecting that. And additionally, I was surprised to see such a variety of very realistic settings, like the school, from the neighborhood, even the workplace. I really felt that one because I've personally experienced that before. And I definitely did not expect stories like these to be, portrayed or shown in a fantasy setting or in a setting among where, in an animal kingdom. I was honestly surprised. It's incredible. I find that incredibly creative, and of each setting is especially well done. And not to mention, each story is filled with all of these dynamic characters that change and grow throughout each act, and all of them being very unique in their own very way. And I love are all varyingly different in content and execution. It was also very enjoyable to see all the different art styles that were used, and it really added to the overall experience. Some were, very cute, and some were kind of anime-esque, and there's even some with a much more serious art style. I really enjoyed that, and that really drew me into these worlds that these students have created. Even in terms of sound design and editing, most of you were excellent. I was impressed by the usage of varying background noises, and even simple things like objects falling down, objects breaking, and even the choices of music were pretty spot on and perfectly like suited for the scene. But unexpectedly, what I was really surprised was, as a voice actor myself, I was surprised and amazed at how good the voice acting was. that really blew me away. And of course, being TESOL students, all of you would have very good command in English, right? But that's to be expected. But I did not expect the acting to be so well done as well. So that's incredible, guys. Wow. Yeah, to be honest, I never expected that TESOL students could pull off such creative works like these, and so very well versed in multimedia, and man, no doubt all of you will be excellent and creative teachers in the future. Kind of makes me wish that I had teachers like all of you back in the day, and that would have been much more fun in the classroom. And yeah, both me and the other judge, Ruben, we both feel the same way. And to the winner of the contest that's going to be announced after this, we wish you congratulations. Very well done. Your group did a wonderfully fantastic job in all aspects, from the story to the graphics to even the sound. Very well done and good job. Should all feel very proud of yourselves. But all of you overall did wonderful. It was unexpected. It blew my expectations away. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, racism is not a new thing. And if there's any time to combat it, it is now and it is today. Congratulations to all of you. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful showcase. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmad Sufyan. I have to say it is a wonderful pleasure having you with us throughout the entire course of the event. And I would like to offer my sincere thanks and appreciation for taking time off your schedule and being part of this event as one of the honorary judges.
With that, we can now proceed with the award ceremony of the Digital Graphic Story event 2022. The moment that we are all waiting for. Shall we, Imer?
Yes, very true, Fari. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remind you once again that everything that you've witnessed up until this point throughout the entire course of the Graphic Story event are all thanks to the creative and tremendous amount of talent that's been showcased by our students that never cease to impress. Wonderful. Now it's the time that all of us have been waiting for to unveil the lucky winners of this amazing event. Now, I'm very pleased to be part of this important celebration and to announce the names of the winners for our Digital Graphic Story event. Without further ado, let us begin with the first category of awards, starting with the Best Voiceover Award. Now, this award is focused on individuals who have successfully incorporated ideal qualities of voiceovers in their graphic stories, such as tone modulation, voice intensity, diction, and enunciation. And the winner for Best Voiceover goes to Mohsin, who is voiced by Farid Amirul from Sujana Publishers. Congratulations, Farid. Congratulations, Farid, for your display of wonderful voiceover qualities in your graphic story. Well deserved to you, Sujana Publisher.
Congratulations, Farid. Now let us move on to the next category of award, the best sound design. Throughout the entire course of the event, I've seen groups displaying some wonderful stories that employ unique sound editing, audible sound effects, dialogues, and appropriate background music that suits the mood and tones and deliver additional effects for their video. Now let's see which group will be taking this one home. And the winner for the best sound design goes to Me and We. Congratulations, Sundry Productions. You have successfully projected and illustrated soundscape ambience, displaying fluency in interactive audio solution and portray good knowledge of the sound systems. Well deserved.
Congratulations to Sundry Production. Now moving on, let us unveil the winners for the next category, which is the best graphic design. Now this category is directed at groups who have presented the judges with stunning visual and technical animations, employed the usage of lively illustrations and images that resonate with the audience emotions, and have showcased the artistry of visual effects. And the winner for best graphic design goes to Me and We. Congratulations, Sundry Productions. Congratulations on being the people's choice of a creative team that has successfully employed the usage of entertaining background visuals, bright and vibrant colors, as well as exhibiting a beautiful work of art and literature. Congratulations once again to you, Sundry Production.
Now we have arrived at the unveiling for the winner of best poster. Now, what makes a good poster? I believe it takes creativity, concision, subject delivery, and the ability to capture the attention of those who are looking at it. And for the winner of our best poster goes to Gardenia by 5A's Entertainment. Congratulations, 5A's Entertainment, for your beautiful poster of the two dish mixed in one bowl, representing the mixture of fusion of race and culture. It definitely caught the attention of the judges and also the audience.
Congratulations to you once again, 5A's Entertainment. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. The big one, the award of all awards, the Best Graphic Story Award. Now let's see which production team takes this award home. So this category is focused on production teams who have produced an overall performance that executes every aspect of the digital graphic story well, from scripting and technical qualities, content originality, characters who show a defined purpose, sound designing, and vocal inflection. And more importantly, this team has showcased excellent content in relation to the issue of racism, which has caught the attention of judges and audience. Now the votes have been casted and the results are in. And the winner for Best Graphic Story goes to 3 in a row, Me and We by Sundry Production. Well deserved of the title for Best Graphic Story and an exemplary team to all. You have definitely demonstrated unique methods of graphical storytelling, sound editing skills, storyline creations, and work management. The accolades are yours. Congratulations to you, Sundry Production. Now, as deserved winners of this title, let's take a look at the graphic story which has brought much joy and inspiration to youngsters all around, courtesy of Sundry Production. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen.
Ali was plucking the guitar string while Raju sat beside him, and Wang was lying on the ground. After the chorus practice, these three best friends spent their free time together. They enjoyed listening to the guitar music while munching Kwesi Put. Wang and Raju gave out a big clap for Ali when the performance has ended. Both praised Ali and they joke around with each other.
Wow, Ali, you must be a genius. How well you play.
Yeah, man.
The girls in our choir will have a crush on you.
Hey, I also want someone to like me. I also want to play the guitar.
Not long after that, Ali suggested it was time to go home. That evening, Wang asked Ali if he could borrow the guitar to practice at home.
Ali, may I borrow your guitar for the weekend? I want to practice at home.
Sure, mate. Here you are. But take care of it for me, okay?
Ali handed the guitar to Wang, trusting his best friend to take care of his precious guitar. On their way home, Wang and Raju could not stop talking about Ali's outstanding guitar skills. They continued to talk as they walked down the street passing by an Indian clique.
Dey, Tambi, don't be so snobbish, huh? You think you are rich carrying the guitar like that? You cannot talk to us, is it?
Wang replied with a stuttering voice that it was not his guitar.
No, guys, please. I don't have any money. We just got back from school.
Unfortunately, the gang did not believe him. Then one of the gangs seemed to start a commotion. The clique shouted while their hands continued to swing at Raju and Wang.
You don't want to give money, huh?
At this moment, Raju and Wang knew that they had no choice but to fight back with the cliques. Unfortunately, one of the members could snatch the guitar from Raju and smash it on the floor.
You're an excellent kid. Now let us teach you a lesson.
They walked away obnoxiously. Wang and Raju were still stunned by what had just happened. Wang immediately picked up the broken guitar and then they walked home with a heavy heart. Raju walked down the street of his house dejectedly. Each step he took felt so heavy. Not that he minded the swollen cheekbone and his bruised knuckles, but he feared more his parents' responses to his disheveled condition after the fight. Glancing at his watch, he knew he had arrived home late. His heart was racing and he was sweating. Judging from Raju's state, his mother rushed to him.
Raju, are you alright? What trouble did you get into, Raju?
Raju kept his head down and he struggled to find his voice, leaving her question unanswered. Raju found his father watching television across the living room. As he hurried to his room, his father's voice stopped him.
Son, why are you late?
Raju did not dare look up at his father's face.
Do you enjoy getting into fights? Son, you really want to be a something under my roof?
Raju remained still and silent.
Answer me, son.
No, I don't want to be a something.
In a second, his father's rage turned into disappointment.
You never take my words seriously, son. I told you too many times, don't get in trouble with other people. Maybe I'm too easy on you. You take my word as a joke, don't you?
Sitting at the dining table, he could not bear the silent treatment his parents gave him, so he decided to let the cat out of the bag.
Appa, Amma.
Now, you know how to speak.
Anbe, let's hear what he has to say first.
I'm sorry, Appa. Amma, I didn't start the fight. Wang and I...
Oh, now you influence the Chinese boy to be a something like you too?
Let him finish, Anbe.
On the way home, we got robbed and beaten up by some thugs on the street.
His father realized his mistake of being consumed by anger without knowing the whole story.
We are going to find a solution to this problem, son. I'm sorry for not letting you explain first from the beginning.
Raju was relieved at the thought that his parents were willing to help him solve the problem. As soon as Wang came home, Mrs. Ling was busy wrapping up wontons for customers' takeaways. Wang would usually greet his mother after school, but that day was slightly different. She was shocked to see his mouth bleeding.
What happened to you?
I've been brought by a gang.
Anger started to ripple through Mrs. Ling as she glanced at a broken guitar that Wang had brought.
Whose guitar is that? Why is it broken into pieces?
Ali lent this guitar to me.
She couldn't hold her wrath and started to scold him.
You think you were born in a golden mansion, don't you? For God's sake, we've just opened a food stall. We've hardly even got any profit.
Can't you see your father lying there? He needs to be treated. It's all about money. And now, you're making things harder for us.
Enough! It's not his fault. He didn't ask to be robbed.
Tears rolled down his cheek as he thought he could not provide for the family like other husbands would do. Wang immediately rushed to his father and hugged him tightly. The day went a bit gloomy the next day. Wang's mother was busy preparing fillings for the wontons in the kitchen. Suddenly, she heard a knocking sound on the door. Mrs. Ling peeped through the window and saw Raju's father with a bag of plastic in his hand. She immediately opened the door and welcomed him to the house.
Hey Kumar, how are you?
I'm fine. Look, I have brought you your favorite butter brushed naan.
Mr. Kumar explained his intention for the meeting.
I came to discuss regarding the broken guitar. I'm sure Wang has already told you about the whole incident.
Kumar suggested that they both needed to help each other pay for the guitar. Mr. Ling agreed to his suggestion, but he asked for some time to save money.
How about we try to earn and save some money in 2 weeks?
Sounds good to me, Kumar. Thank you for being very understanding.
They sighed with relief as they had found a solution together. Not long after that, Mrs. Ling served them a big bowl of wonton soup to be eaten alongside the famous butter brush naan in their hometown. On Monday morning, Wang and Raju walked to the school together. Along the way, they talked about the guitar incident, and they decided not to tell Ali because they knew he would be devastated about it. But little did they know, one of their classmates overheard their discussion while walking behind them. Ali heard the boys spreading lies about his best friends during recess.
Guys, do you want to know something big?
What is it? Tell us.
Ali's favorite guitar was smashed into pieces. I heard that his Samsung friends, Keleng and Cina Sepet, got into fight. That's how it was broken. Those two Samsung also want to hide the truth from Ali.
He was shocked and immediately stormed out of the classroom. A moment later, he spotted Wang nervously smiling and waving at him in the hallway.
What's wrong, Ali? Why are you in such a bad mood?
I'll tell you why.
Ali retorted angrily, and a big punch landed on Wang's left cheek. The teacher finally ended the commotion, and 3 of them were given detention to clean the school toilets. While cleaning, Wang and Raju finally break the silence by apologizing and confessing the actual incident to Ali.
I'm truly sorry, Ali. We didn't mean to keep this thing from you.
He did not bother to look at his 2 best friends. Instead, Ali finished cleaning up the sink and left them both feeling guilty. 2 weeks later, Wang and Raju headed to the guitar shop with an adequate amount of money. They were happy to buy a new guitar for Ali to replace the broken one. However, once the shopkeeper watched them in front of the guitar shop, the shopkeeper scurried to the door, refusing to allow Raju in, while pointing to the sign hanging on the door. Wang was enraged by the shopkeeper's unpleasant treatment, especially towards Raju.
You can eat at Indian restaurants, so why not let an Indian visit your shop?
Alright, your friend may come in, but please don't touch the guitars. If my boss smells any curry, he will deduct my wage.
Fortunately, they found an identical guitar at a price they could afford. So they went on to get the guitar and pay for it at the counter. Wang and Raju left as soon as they paid for the guitar. Following Monday, the new guitar was given to Ali, but the rumors grew stronger around the class.
See, Wang must have been ashamed of himself and finally returned the guitar.
You guys, he finds an excuse for his anger. Let's stay away from this black monster.
The whole class was on the verge of a fierce quarrel. Deep down, Ali was so happy to get back his guitar. Then he suddenly realized his best friend's hardship to replace the guitar. Ali could not bear the hostile environment and malicious assumptions among his classmates. So Ali stood up at his table and voiced his defense for his friends.
Everyone, I was also angry when my guitar was lost, but look, I got it back, didn't it? Wang and Raju did not hide the guitar nor took it away. They encountered a clique and fought with them. It is unjust if you assume something which didn't happen and treat them like this, isn't it? We need to understand Wang and Raju. I know them. Their families must be in difficulty to buy a guitar. So let's calm down. Think about what would happen if the same thing happened to us.
Silence prevailed in the air. Everyone realized it was racism. No matter what race they are, they should respect each other. It has been a few months. School is coming to an end, and the class is about to perform a jam session to mark the end of an eventful year.
Now let's enjoy the last show of the year, folks.
The show begins as Ali strums the notes in his guitar. The whole class sings in melody to the tune of Ali's guitar. Ali looked at his friends, Wang and Raju, who beamed back at him as they caught his glance.
Me and we are the same. No matter what race, we are all Malaysian.
Dua tiga kapal berlayar di samudra. Ayo sahabatku, kita bergembira, bermain, bernyanyi bersama, menikmati indahnya dunia.
What a wonderful performance by Sunrise Production. Congratulations once again to the entire team whose sweat and toil has led to the production of an astonishing graphic story. A round of applause to Sunrise Production. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have reached the end of our webinar for the Digital Graphic Story Premiere 2022. Once again, our sincere and heartfelt thanks goes to the Deputy Dean of Undergraduate Studies, representing the Dean of the Faculty of Education, Dr. Harwati Hashim, our special guest Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Dato Sri Dr. Abdul Aziz Abdul Rahman, Head Jury Mr. Ahmad Sufian Mazilan, Senior Lecturer Dr. Azrina Abdul Aziz, and Year 3 TESOL students for making this event worthwhile and inspiring for the future generation. We hope that this event will be a sweet memory to every single one of us. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to apologize for our shortcomings throughout the event. My deepest gratitude to everyone for joining this event, and until we meet again in the future, stay safe and have a great weekend. Assalamualaikum. Thank you.
Before that, I would like to have everyone to turn on their cameras. We would like to have a bit of a photo session. Maybe we can do like 2 formal photos and 2 freestyle photos, okay? So maybe we can have everyone turn on their cameras, show us your handsome faces.
No. All right, so 2 formal pictures and 2 freestyle, right? So everyone ready? Right. Formal. In 3, 2, 1, smile. Right, one more. 1, 2, 3. Right now, freestyle. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right.
Thank you everyone for your participation today, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you everyone. See you next semester.
Thank you
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Doctor.